Hi there. I'd like to give a first-hand review on the ATOTO S8 Gen2 Ultra model. This is an Android headset for your automobile. Has a 2-DIN form factor, and it's an Android head unit, which means it runs the Android operating system. You can go ahead and install this in your car, and it will give you Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. One thing that's nice about it is you can download and run Android apps directly on the unit. And I'm going to go ahead and show you why I think that's a pretty good thing. Just to go over the unit itself, it's a, the reason why you would want one of these things is if you've got an older car that doesn't have an infotainment system, you probably want to go ahead and use maps and Bluetooth to your cell phone, and your older car probably might not have those features or has an antiquated version of the features. And so what this allows you to do is to go ahead and bring these kind of new functionality to your older car. I've got a 2008 Mustang here. All it has is an AM/FM CD changing radio, and with this now I've got a full display here that I can run any of these apps on, as well as connect to my phone. So one of the things, let's see, this one here runs Android 10. Being the Ultra model, it also has cellular, Wi-Fi, and 2 Bluetooth chips in it. And the cellular allows me to not have to worry about using my phone as a hotspot. I had another Android head unit from Phoenix Automotive, and its hotspot relationship with my iPhone was very shaky at best. Now that I've got the cellular built into this, my car actually runs independently of my phone now, so it's got internet connection. And you got a SIM port right here on the front. T-Mobile, I had plenty of lines on my account. They, for some reason, gave me an extra line or two after I bought some more phones, and you get another line free, no charge. So I stuck it in here. Wi-Fi works in 2 modes on this car. One, you can have you can use it to connect to a Wi-Fi source or hotspot, such as you pull in your driveway, and if you get Wi-Fi connectivity in your driveway, you can download apps in the Play Store and things like that, and get data, access to the internet that way. Hotspots, of course, off your phone. But the other thing you can do is, if you're traveling and you've got cellular on here, you can use this as a hotspot. So you can turn on a hotspot, and say you have something in the car that you'd want to be able to connect to the internet. Maybe somebody's got a tablet without cellular built in, or a dash cam that has cloud capability. You could piggyback off the cellular connection of this ATOTO and be able to get out to the internet. And one of the other things about this is that the ATOTO's got 2 Bluetooth chips in it, which is actually really great, because usually when you have a Bluetooth relationship, your head unit in your car is actually pretty much acting like a set of glorified headphones. It's got a microphone, it's got the speakers for the headset, and maybe get some buttons that can do stop and start for your Bluetooth, and it'll transfer a contact list. But for the most part, a car's head unit is basically just acting as like I said, a set of headphones. But since this is an Android head unit itself, it's going to want to connect to things as well as be connected to by your phone. You're going to connect your phone to this, but you might also want to use this to connect to other things. On my car, for instance, I've got a Bluetooth ODB2 connection, so that I can run the Torque app on. We'll take a look at that a little bit later. And so this has to be able to connect from the head unit to these peripheral devices. So it's acting both as a headphones to your iPhone, but it's also acting as a as a tablet or a iPhone itself, and connecting to other devices. One of the things I've got is I got a Valentine 1 radar detector here, and it's you can see a little blue light on there. That's Bluetooth. So my head unit can talk to the Valentine and get do some communications with that. And I'll show you a little bit of that later on. But that's one of the things that's nice on here, is you get the 2 Bluetooth chips. And we'll take a look at that a little bit later. And let's take a look around the menus and the functionality of the unit. This top half here, this is kind of a workable area where you can add what you'd like on here. It's got 2 panes. You can see the little dots on here from the bottom. So here I've got some widgets that I put on there, as well as some shortcuts to applications. We got 2 pages on there. This one here is, showing the radio status, and it's just some icons that are common. Along the bottom, these 6 icons will kind of always stay there, depending on how you scroll side to side. They will be persistent. Click here on the bottom. This will show you all the apps that you've got installed. So it'll show you, anything you download from the Play Store will show up here. And I've only got 3 pages worth of apps. And then from here, these are things that you can add to the widget page. So you sit there and you select one of these and you can drag it on over. And same with these icons on here. You can sit there and take any of these apps and drag them on over to the main page. To get back to the main page, just hit the circle icon, and that'll bring you back there. Going across the top, you got the back button. This is common Android stuff. I don't know what the circle button's called. I guess it's home. The square one will show you any of the apps that are open. You can scroll back and forth between them. We'll get back to that a little bit later. This little sunburst here is for brightness. You can toggle between 3 settings of dim, bright, and brighter. There are 2 different methods on this, because if you turn the headlights on, you can set the brightness for when headlights are on. So maybe you might want at night have them be dim. You can turn the headlights off. It'll brighten up. So you can switch that around a bit. This microphone here is when you got a Bluetooth connection to your iPhone. You hit that and you can start talking to Siri with it. I believe it gets its time from the iPhone. Over here, your standard statuses for your iPhone, as well as the tablet. So it'll show you your battery status on the phone and things like that. Take your finger and pull down from the top. You've got your status menu or quick menu for Android. So you turn Wi-Fi on and off. You could turn your eye comfort, which is kind of like, just does some yellowing. Turn cellular on and off, your equalizer, take a screenshot, clear memory, run a gallery, which I'm not sure what that's useful for. Then, of course, a reboot. And this is your kind of your notification area there. So you'd sit there and you'd look at this, and it come up recently, would just show up on there. But we don't need that. It is a car radio, so this is the radio icon. Run this, and you can go ahead and listen to your radio stations. As far as software radio goes, this actually is pretty nice. You can sit there and just program these, preset buttons at the bottom. You can see I got some text on there. You can name them. Just a little bit of sound here. So you can have a radio on there. You go back out, radio stays running. Hit this little pause on the widget, and you can just stop the radio from playing that way. Let's see what else is there. Just going around the clock here a little bit. Let's get some light on here. You got your internal microphones up here. This is an auxiliary port. You can run. You can either plug in a headphone jack into this and listen to another device. There's also the same auxiliaries available on the back of the unit. I've got that wired through to the console of my Mustang, so that there's an auxiliary jack inside the console. You can plug in there as well. Here's the SIM, your SIM card slot. You just put that in. You've got a SD card port. This is good for if you just need extra Android storage, or in my case, if I say like I'm recording stuff on my dash cam and I want to view it, I can pop the SIM card out of the dash cam and plug it in here to the ATOTO and just watch the video that way without having to go inside my house and hook it up to a computer. This is cool. This is a little gesture IR camera. In fact, you can see this little light glowing here. With the naked eye, it's infrared, so you can't see it. But what it's doing is it's looking to see if there's any gestures taking place in front of the unit. I'm going to cover that a little bit more in a minute. Down here's a resets button, so you can sit there and reboot the unit. You'd have to stick a little, whatchamacallit in there, a pen tip or a straightened out paper clip to get to that. Along the bottom, you've got a power on and off and a mute button, volume down, volume up, previous, next, and then a home button here with a little microphone, which I believe if you hold that in a little bit, it'll kick off. So that's your around the clock on the display. Let's see, and I've already showed you doing this. Okay. That's on. Get back to the main menu. Okay, just want to take a quick look. I know when I'm looking at a new system, I like to take a look at the admin settings or the you know, the way you configure the unit. And so on here, it's an Android system, so you just hit this settings button. I'll try and get this thing compensated for the thing. But you know, first selection on the menu here is for the Wi-Fi. You can click on the Wi-Fi LAN. Right now I got the Wi-Fi disabled because I really just don't need it that much. But if you turn it on, it'll go through and start scanning for Wi-Fi networks and whatnot. And after that, he's left his spot. But anyhow, so you know, a whole lot of Wi-Fi networks that are nearby. A lot more than I saw before. Data usage is for your cell usage for the 4G. So you know, you can go ahead and take a look at how that's being used. SIM info. You know, again, using my T-Mobile here. Take a look at that, and not much you can do with this. More mobile network. This is where you can turn on the hotspot tethering. So if you wanted to sit there and create a hotspot network, you could do that, and you turn it on, set up a password for it and everything else. That way other people in the car can, you know, tether along on your cellular connection, get out to the internet. Don't really need that right now. Let's see, what do we got here? Device, display, not much there, just how to do wallpaper. Sound, location status. Location status is kind of cool because this will show you your GPS information. Looks like this thing works for both that just GPS but also GLONASS. So you know, so we can get the Russian stuff in here too. So you know, in a year or two after the nukes all happen, hopefully this stuff will still work. And let's see what else we got. Those locations add Bluetooth 2. This is the same screen as you got before from the Bluetooth 2 icon. Nothing big there. Default USB connection. What does it want to do? You could have it start CarLink or Easy Connection. You know, whenever somebody plugged in an iPhone to a certain USB port, but you know, I've got that disabled. I don't want that happening. Storage. I can go ahead and look at the storage devices. I've got 64 gigs, you know, used locally, and then on the internal storage, and then I've also got a looks like a 512 gig SD card plugged in here, and there's an eject button if I wanted to go through and use that, but you know, that's fine the way it is. Apps, you go through and look at your apps, look at the USB output video settings. I believe this is for if you wanted to configure the car to go to a rear seat display that, you know, maybe like in a minivan or a large SUV that had, you know, third row seating or something like that, and had a little TV back there. You know, you could set something up to, you know, broadcast back on here. App settings. I'm not sure what we're going to do with this. You know, just uninstall it if you need to. Change permissions. Some apps require permissions for all kinds of things, so you got to be able to, you know, use that. That's it for that. The general page. Disable video playback when in motion. I guess you could use that to make sure that people don't play YouTube or any other videos on while they're driving. And auto start, mirror display of the camera, front view after reversing. I guess if you got a front camera after you come out of reversal, turn that on. Rear camera switches. You can see the JBV1. It doesn't overlay. If it sees any radar stuff, it'll pop it up here on the screen. So anyhow, I'm in a parking lot and there's something nearby that's triggering that. So I don't want to unplug it, but you know, that's where that is. User accounts. You know, your typical googly stuff, you know, location, well, who's got permissions for that, who gets security permissions, who gets language permissions, Google settings, system reboots, account stuff, date and time, accessibility, screen lock, about this device, so you can sit there and see it's got Android 10 on it, and you can get your, you know, build versions off of this. One thing about this unit is, with this ATOTO, is I've got a what is it, like the den unit's got like an 8-inch screen. They do make models that are 2 den but actually have a larger screen, like a 10-inch screen that sort of projects out. And while that's actually pretty darn cool, the problem I have with that is, as you can tell, I've got too many buttons and stuff that are on the Mustang here, that if I were to have a big screen, it would cover up all these top buttons and the HVAC connections down here. So I had to have something that was recessed in there, and it's been working fine for me. So a little smaller than I'd like, but you know, what can I do? One other setting that I forgot to cover is these buttons that are along the bottom here. You can change the color of these LEDs from the menu settings, and that way you can get them to match what your car has on the from the factory default. So we go to general. Let's see, where is it? General. Go down a little bit. Panel illumination, and you can pick colors here. So now they're orange, magenta, and so on and so on. So I got ahead and green. Green is what my Mustang has, and that matches up nice. So that for those of you who have other different colors on the inside of your car, you can be happy to know that you can match those buttons. Thanks. One of the nice features on here is, if you've seen that, there's the backup camera. My old Mustang, of course, didn't have a backup camera, so I got the ATOTO one. I installed it. You put the car in reverse, and it'll switch to the backup camera. And the funny thing is, this camera lens is actually a fisheye lens. It's got a real bad distortion to it. But using some software, they kind of extrapolated out data, and they've created this, what it looks like a overhead view. So when you're backing up, this will slowly, move along, and it gives you an overhead view that it extrapolates from this fisheye camera on the back. Now, they've straightened this out here so it doesn't look so much like a fisheye when you're looking straight back. But I tell you, this is pretty darn useful for a car with a bad visibility and blind spots when you're backing up. This thing actually, works pretty darn well. So I can sit there and pop it out of gear. And since the radio is wired into the reverse lead, it knows how to go ahead and use that. If you want to look at the camera without actually being in reverse, there's an R camera icon here. That'll show you your rear video input. And you can see what I mean by the fisheye lens right there. It's pretty ugly when it's not being, software compensated. The ATOTO does also have a front camera. Where are you at? So if you have a regular another camera, you can plug it into the front of the fine unit there, and you can plug that in and view that camera as well. Okay, and then we'll show what it looks like when we're using the reverse camera with this fisheye lens and the overhead view. So let me see if I can do this nicely while holding the camera. I'm going to go ahead and back on up to a spot behind me. I'm a little off center, but the camera shows me where it is. And you can tell there's a little bit of a curve here as I was steering and things like that. The line is perfectly straight in real life, but I'm pretty much lined up at the end of the dirt line here in the parking lot, and I'm not going to get out and show how I ended up. But this is pretty useful when you got a car that's got a bad blind spot. And I'm holding the camera here, so I didn't get myself perfectly centered, but it looks pretty good. And like I said, one of my favorite features of this ATOTO is that it's an Android headset. It's running Android 10. And what that means is any kind of Android app that you can download from the Android Play Store or the Google Play Store, you should be able to run on this. I mean, there's some exceptions. I found that some, especially some streaming video content like Disney Plus or Netflix, the ones you try and download from the Play Store won't work. But there's other sites out on the internet that seem to cater to this, and you can go ahead and find these APK files and download them, and people have had some success using it. I found that I don't really necessarily want to watch a Netflix show or a Disney Plus show while I'm driving. It just hasn't been useful for me, so I haven't pursued that. But looking at the screen here, I've got a AAA. AAA's good to have on your car. It shows you can show you nearby gas prices. You can go call for help. Apple Music, that's correct. This is an Android app on an Android for Apple Music. Apple has written an Android app because if you subscribe to it, I guess they want to make sure you're able to access it. And we'll try this out a little bit here, but you can sit there and just run Apple Music, and let's see what I got to see. You can play music here, so that works good. Funny thing is, this is an Apple Music widget up here, so you can hit play and advance and stuff like that. Google Assistant, I'll show you some more on that in a few minutes. Auxiliary, if you want to run that auxiliary jack that's here, you can use this as an input and it'll start playing that. Bluetooth 1, this is basically just for accessing your phone and getting your phone connected, or multiple phones connected to the head unit. BT Music, that's for if you want to start streaming audio from your iPhone to the head unit. You can click on that and it'll just, whatever you're playing on your phone, this will act like the headset for it. BT2, this is for connecting to external devices, such as, let's see, I don't know if it'll show me anything, but connecting to that radar detector or to that OBDC2 adapter there. You can connect to that as well. CarLink, that's for Apple CarPlay. I'll show you that in a minute. Let's see, keep going through the apps. We've got Chick-fil-A. When I order something from the drive-thru, you could run this. Of course, today's a Sunday, so there's not much going to show up there right now. Chrome, you can go ahead and open up tabs, and you never know when you're going to need a browser. So, just show that Android support for Chrome is there. Oh, where were we at? DAB, I'm not sure what that one is. I think you can buy like a, I don't know if that's just for digital audio or something like that. Google Drive, you want to go ahead and, copy stuff to your Google Drive. You can access it from the Android head unit here. Easy connection. This is kind of like a screen mirroring app. I've never found it to be useful, but supposedly you can plug your USB port into your phone and mirror it onto here. Don't really find a good reason for that. There's an equalizer, for when you're playing music. There's different settings on that. I've not found that to be particularly, I never really seem to use that. Security app, because my home house is, you got a cameras set up on there, so you run this UFI security, and basically I can sit there and watch the cameras on my house while I'm driving, see if there's gonna be any free parking spots across from my house when I get home, and check the driveway, see if my wife's boyfriend's at the house, so I can make sure I get there quick enough before he gets out of there, so I can get my shots off. Let's see, front cam, kind of covered that. If you've got a camera plugged into the proper jacks on the back of the unit for a front facing camera, you can click on this and it would show it. I've got no camera there, so there's nothing to see. File manager, again, it's an Android unit. You can browse around through your files, SD card, take a look at that. Find devices, I guess it's the Android equivalent of Find My iPhone. So you get, again, the Android devices that are connected up to your Google account, you can find where they are located here. Let's see, gallery, gestures. Now gestures is kind of interesting. I should go ahead and cover this in a different spot. We'll go take a quick peek at it. And basically what you can do is you get these hand gestures here, and you can go ahead and program to do things with them. So you can sit there and say, oh, here's all the available things that your gestures can do. To turn on the microphone, I guess, switch to radio, music play, maps, Bluetooth, and it goes through all these things: front camera, rear camera. There's a bunch of selections. But to tell you the truth, the only thing I really found the gesture can be useful for is going to be the raising and lowering of volume. So I go ahead and you'll see that I've only got 2 gestures programmed for volume up and volume down. I've got a stick shift here. So as you can imagine, my hand's going back and forth in front of this radio all the time. And so if I had a lot of these gestures set up, doing waves and whatnot, I'm going to end up trying to trigger all kinds of activity on here. So here's the gesture camera down here. You can see that little faint light there that's invisible to the naked eye, but on camera it shows up. It's infrared. And so what you can do is you can wiggle your finger back and forth and raise the volume up, go back and forth the other way, does the volume down. And I actually did find that to be pretty useful. So gestures, for the most part, it's a gimmick, but for those 2 things, it's nice when I'm driving, not trying to get my finger on these little tic-tac buttons on here. I can just wiggle my finger back and forth, and it does the job. Going past gestures, got a Google app, you know what that does, HDDVR. I believe that's the app that you would use if you bought a ATOTO's dash camera. I don't use their dash camera, so I'm not running that app. Highway Radar is a pretty good highway assistant, driving assistant one. I don't use that because a lot of these features are built in JBV1. JBV1 I'm going to cover in a little bit. That's a premium app. I'll show you why in a minute. Google Maps, you should know that by heart. McDonald's, you can go ahead and set this up and do some ordering. I will say that with the screen size for the McDonald's or with the ATOTO on the McDonald's app, I sometimes have problems just trying to even get to placing orders, and so I end up, I can almost delete this. So here because there's really not much you know, I can get to with it. The screen just the app's not written for the screen properly. Let's see what comes out of McDonald's messaging, music player. These are just kind of like default apps built into the ATOTO. Let's see, another apps was the MyQ. This is used if you've got a LiftMaster, Chamberlain, Craftsman brand garage door opener. You can put this app on here. You can raise and lower your garage door, just check its status. You drove off, you're like, hey, did I close it or not? I wasn't looking. So light control, I got a front porch light set up on the app before I had other fine home automation apps. Oh, let's see what else comes in there. My radar is pretty good. This is just an app you can just check you know, where the snow's coming from or the rain. You know, does what you think it does. It just shows you a global map of you know, the radar. You know, this can be useful if you're traveling. Zoom in a bit, and it'll show you, you know, where the nearby storms are and whatnot. So on this blue dot here in Maryland, and there's a nice day out today, so there's nothing around. Navigation. This is just you can set this up in the settings to run your favorite navigation app, Waze, Google Maps, something like that. Nav-free radio. This is another radio application in case you don't like the standard one. It does work on here. Let's see.
On 98 Rock, presented by 212 Realty, a journey beyond, a degree above. The Purple Power.
So if you don't like the standard app, you can download other Android compatible radio apps. I will say that app did not work on my Phoenix Automotive one, so you gotta check and see what's compatible for hardware. Pandora, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that. Google Play, is where you download a lot of your apps from. Let's see what comes to there. There's a radio app, a rear camera app. Again, like I showed you before, you know, it's a fisheye camera, so it looks a little goofy when you're not running the backup camera. Scanner radio. This is actually kind of cool. This is an app that you can use to monitor police frequencies. So I'll run this every once in a while if there's something interesting going on in my neighborhood. Only trouble is, you know, it's only as good as the what they're broadcasting on the frequencies. So a lot of times you get dead air. Every once in a while someone will chime in with something that's pretty much inaudible. So use it. You know, maybe in your area it'll work out better for you. But for me, I'm not getting so much out of it. So I'll stop that. And let's see where we're at now. Speed test. Speed test is a good app to check your cellular speed. Hit go. Again, I'm not near a tower right now, so it's a little weak. What am I getting, around 10? Yeah, 9.34 download speed, and probably about 6 up, right? Let's see what we get. Come on, finish up. Yeah, 6.15. So, there's speed test, is a common Android app. Let's see, Spotify. This is actually, you know, pretty good for getting podcasts and whatnot. So you listen to Joe Rogan or whatever else you want to listen to.
Arizona.
Got a little postage stamp video feed there, and of course, you know, audio. So play that in the background if you want to listen to podcasts while you're driving. Steering wheel setup. There's a little steering wheel controller you can get for doing a lot of these regular buttons. Honestly, these things are within reach just fine, so I don't bother with that. Teams is for my work. You can run Teams on here. I've been on doing conference calls, and it's basically like having a speakerphone, and I don't have to worry about using my iPhone or the app. I can receive phone calls on here. If somebody's sharing a screen, it'll show up on here, no problem. So the only thing I haven't done is try to hook up a USB camera to see if it'll work that way. Torque is pretty cool. Torque is a way of interfacing between your car and an Android head unit. So I've gone ahead and got a Bluetooth connection to it. I can tell my RPMs are going. I can check my screens here, get coolant temperatures, voltage, intake temperature, GPS height, I don't know, GPS speed. I'm not driving, so it's not going anywhere. Air temperature 69 outside, so, you know, so whatchamacallit, it's, you know, Torque is pretty well received app for talking to ODB2. It's only as good as the data that you can get out of your car, and I find that various cars present various data. Some also will give you fuel rail pressure sensors and all these other things, and others don't. So it all depends on your car. There's also different widgets and screens that you can add for torque, so things like that. One thing that's nice about it, you can also use it for let's see which corner does the menu there, but you can use it to scan for engine codes if you're having a failure of some kind. And let's see what's else after that. Tire pressure monitor sensor, you can get that if your car doesn't have tire pressure monitors. You can add the sensors to each of the wheels. That'd be pretty nice. Video, just plays video files. Get VLC if you really want to use that. Google Voice Search, Waze. I guess you know how to use Waze by now. Same as it is on everything else. Finally, what do we got last here? Got a Wi-Fi analyzer. This is actually pretty cool. I use this, and it used to be a thing called war driving. People would go around and try and find Wi-Fi hotspots. Back when that was a big deal. But what this will do is it'll go through and just tell you what Wi-Fi hotspots it sees, in the neighborhood. In fact, funny, a car just drove by, and maybe that was that red one we just saw here. So you can see, what bands are being used for Wi-Fi. And then finally, YouTube. Of course, you're not supposed to watch videos while you're driving, and I don't. But I will play YouTube because maybe there are some channels that I subscribe to, listen to that or just some guy talking. So it doesn't really matter if it's a video being displayed or not. I can sit there and just listen to this in the background as I'm driving along. You can see full screen. It looks just fine. Turn the volume down. So Steve Lado. And that's how the apps look like on the ATOTO. Another feature I had to get back to would be this Google Assistant. Google Assistant is actually pretty darn nice. So if you're anytime you're just using the car, and this microphone up here, if you hit that, since I've got a Bluetooth connection to my iPhone, it actually will start doing Siri stuff, and I don't want to do Siri stuff. But if you want to do Google stuff, which makes the head unit do things, you can just say do the Google Assistant, and that works pretty good. So let's try it out. Hey Google, Apple CarPlay, WIYY.
Apple CarPlay isn't installed on your device. You can install Apple CarPlay to start listening.
Hey Google, play WIYY on Apple Music.
Got it. Asking Apple Music to play WIYY.
The offensive line is, I think we're set for a while.
Well, there it is. That's our question of the week with two regular season games remaining. What is the Ravens' biggest strength and weakness? I am at Kirk.
All right, so you can do that. Hey Google, run app JBV1.
Opening JBV1.
Hey Google, open app Waze.
Opening Waze.
Hey Google, open app Google Maps.
Opening Maps.
So as you can see, you can use the Google Assistant to get around your your Android while you're driving, which let's face it, it makes things a lot easier. Okay, let's see if I can get see if I can Apple CarPlay to run on the phone I'm recording the video on. So Android Auto I can't speak to. I don't have an Android phone, but I do have an iPhone. So if you have Bluetooth connected to your iPhone, you can try and run the CarLink app here, and it'll do wireless CarPlay to your phone. And the phone could be in your pocket. You don't have to do too much with it, but it's just your regular Apple CarPlay stuff. Again, these are apps that are actually running on my iPhone itself, like WebEx I don't have installed in the head unit, Spot Hero I don't have installed in the head unit. But you can, if you have these things on your phone, you can start using those. It's also good for if you want to do Apple messaging. You can do that through the app CarPlay, or use the Apple Maps. Do that. Apple Podcasts. So you can go through any of those things. Let's see what we got here. You can use the Waze on there. Do your iPhone settings or your Apple settings. Use Siri and everything else. Tells you your phone's battery life and your connection, the time. Those are things you actually get from the main thing. And then when you want to go back to get out of Apple CarPlay, you just use this ATOTO icon that takes you back out. And again, here's your battery strength on here. It used to be. Anyhow, you get your signal strength and everything else. So time and whatnot. Now, I changed a few icons around. One of the other things I forgot to show is just that you can, when you have apps running, to switch between them, you hit the square here, and you can go through and look at all the apps that you have open. If you see one that has this kind of double pane on there, that lets you do a side-by-side, which can be useful in some instances. I find that I really don't need it. But you can sit there and say you wanted to, I don't think that one will let me go with it. Let's see, where's Chick-fil-A? No. Pandora, maybe. Where's Waze at? Oh, radio. So you want to look at the radio.
Obtain playoff hope, but they lost to the Browns, or they fell to the Browns.
So you could do that side by side.
And the Jags with nothing to play for, because next week determines whether or not
Hey, you want to get rid of that?
The Tennessee Titans.
Just throw it on up. If you want to get rid of the widescreen, you can just drag a corner, and now it's full screen. You want to switch to something else, just hit that button, find your preferred app. You can do that. Or, again, my favorite is just if you want to change apps, you just say it out loud. Hey, Google, run app JBV1.
Opening.
And it'll just switch to it. One of the apps that really sticks out here, and I wanted to give it some special attention, is JBV1. JBV1 it's not a map software, but it's a sort of like a navigational, or not just a navigational, it should be a driving awareness app, and it's really cool because it takes some of the features of Waze and then kind of amplifies on it. So you have crowdsourced like police notifications, but speed traps and red light cameras and speed cameras and whatnot. But it also brings a couple other new features that you wouldn't get from Waze. Hey Google, run app JBV1.
Opening. JBV1.
So we've got JBV1 here, and one of the things that it does is it integrates natively with the Valentine 1 radar detector here. So this has got Bluetooth, and so it's got an API, and as you've had radar detectors before, it just beeps like crazy and whatnot. And this thing only has a single button for muting the nonsense that goes on. If you want to program this at all, you've got to actually get the app and do it. But with JBV1, you can do that as well. If you look at this L here, this is going to sit there and be exactly the same as the what's on the screen, and you can go ahead and toggle some modes. So you see now it's set to an A. If I can get out of that, let me turn this light off. So you do the A. Little L, big L, and you can control these parts of the radar detector. Oh, it looks like we got something got triggered on here. It's probably a garage door opener, or maybe a car over there that has some backup sensors. But it'll sit there and it'll display here on the screen. This app will natively integrate with that, and it does a lot more than just show that, convey what's on there. You can go ahead and go into the setting. I can go here. I can turn off the screen on the radar. So if I want to be sort of in stealth mode, it'll turn all the lights off on the radar detector screen. So I click on that, it'll go dark, and that way if you're in a state that you don't want people seeing the yellow radar detector, you can turn the display on and off, but it'll remain active. A lot of settings on here. You can report police activity, hazards, accidents, just like you can with Waze. In fact, I believe it goes to the same Waze database. There's an API there that they use. It'll show traffic. We can do weather radar on the screen. Not much going on today. One thing that's kind of cool is this thing called HR Police, and what that is that's hot spots. And what it'll do is when there's roads that are that have a lot of police activity, it'll sort of give them like a blue or green, red glow to them, and that way you can see where police are likely to be running radar. So that's kind of cool. You can also do different kinds of maps. You get satellite maps. You got standard maps. Hold it down long enough. Oh, that was a terrain. So you got terrain maps here. Satellite, or this is H map. Let's see. And then if you want to make it daytime, you just hold it down a bit and it'll change colors. So you get some different mapping going on. One of the cool settings is this thing called pause. If you look at pause, what pause will do is that actually goes and it checks an FAA database for planes that are flying nearby. And if there's any planes that are suspicious, in other words, are registered to your local police department, helicopters, things like that, if they're anywhere near you and they're running a pattern that's following the roads, this thing will notify you that there's a suspicious aircraft up there. There was one time I was driving on the Beltway and I got this message popped up. It was one of the first things, a Department of Homeland Security helicopter detected nearby. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Driving about 1-2 minutes later, sure enough, a Black Hawk comes flying over my car. So this is it's kind of cool having that kind of information going on out there. Again, you got your standard crowdsourced information as well. So you see this CSA crowdsource alerts. So if you get things such as hazards in the road, car on the shoulder, accident ahead, roadkill, those kind of things will pop up on there. So there's a lot of neat things in there. So if you've got an Android system, it's free software. While it is written to be integrated with the Valentine 1 radar detector, it also is impressive standalone. So you don't have to integrate with the radar detector. It's kind of just gives you an added set of sensors, if you will, to make this software a little bit better. But standing alone, it actually JBV1 is pretty darn cool. I will say that there's a lot more it can do. There's plenty of other videos out there that are going to go into detail, so go ahead and check those out. Okay, well, I guess it's about time to wrap up this video. I've covered about pretty much everything I wanted to cover. It's an Android head unit, can do Android things. It's a good replacement. Gives an old car some modern tech feel. I no longer feel like my car is old and stale. Like my Mustang now, it feels as fresh, if not more modern than some of the other cars out there. The one problem that we're going to have with these headsets and coming in the future, I don't know if you've seen, you've been in a 2008 Acura and checked out their navigation system, but you'll see that stuff gets dated after a while. And older systems, as technology grows and new features become available, these things are going to go away. Or I should say, this head unit here runs Android 10. Well, that's great for right now, but as we all know, in a couple of years, Android 10 is going to be older, and then not supported. New apps are not going to be downloaded for it. So you do have to recognize that in these times, this kind of stuff is going to end up going out of support eventually. Newer cars are actually a little bit more in trouble because they don't have like a Gen 2 form factor. Their stuff is built in with their infotainment center, and they really you can't replace the radio on those cars without also taking into account that they control your heated seats and your suspension settings and all kinds of other stuff. So those newer cars have that stuff so tightly integrated that they're not really gonna be able to swap out this stuff when it gets stale. I mean, this fine unit here, this A2 S7 or the ATOTO Gen2 S8, maybe in a few years we're going to want the S9 or the Gen 10 or Gen 12 or whatever it's going to be. We'll have stuff that'll run newer Android OSs and whatnot, and we can swap those out on these Gen 2 units, but those other cars, they're not going to be able to do that. So bang for the buck, it's a $500 system. What am I going to say? It's expensive, plus you kick out some extra money for the camera, for the backup camera that was, if you want to do a dash cam with it, you can do that. That's some more money. There's that thumb button that can go on your steering wheel. I didn't find that was really useful. So what you're going to spend depends on what you're going to need. If you are only interested in running Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, you're not going to really take advantage of these features. Yeah, but the ATOTO also makes these, less expensive. Was it the F7 and the A6 and other units like that? They have some slower processors, but they, if all your CPUs being, all your apps are being run natively on your iPhone or your Android phone, then you don't need all of this. This is for people like me who want to run the head unit as a standalone computer and try and do things like that on here. In the future, I don't know what more apps I can bring to this car that would be useful. There's software-defined radio. I'm always thinking about, I've seen that runs on Android. I've wanted to play around with that. That's good for like scanning ham radio frequencies and whatnot with an antenna. So that might be interesting. But for the most part, what you see here, I think I've kind of hit the end of the road as far as new capabilities go, and I'm very happy with it, honestly. It's got all the stuff I'd want it to do. So if it's for you, enjoy. If not, like I said, there's cheaper things out there. So thanks a lot, and everybody have a good one.